Welcome back. We're already a bit into the game, but nothing interesting has happened. In the bottom left, as the yellow Protoss, it is Rob. The top right, as the green Zerg, he is CalebAracous. I'm looking forward to this match since the beginning of the bracket. Other matches that are shaping up nicely include Canning versus No Regret, Suppy versus Jehefe. I was gonna say that name with a bit of an accent, don't you? Dolan versus Game Time. Already some pretty good players getting knocked down to the lower bracket. Star Killer is currently in round 3 after knocking out Gemini. True? Actually doesn't seem like it's real true because it says he's from China? I honestly cannot tell. He's usually Tesu noob. Okay, well, we'll leave that up to a question mark. Printf was defeated by Suppy. And after I said I really didn't think Suppy was going to be the one to do it. And Printf had such a great day yesterday. Now, I know his mechanics sometimes end up faltering. End up losing him games. And some people really do just know how to hard counter him. The amount of people that seem to actually, like, realistically hard counter him, the difference between knowledge and execution, right? Seems to, you know, it was getting lower, as seen by his last qualifier run yesterday, where he got really, really close to making it through, but that's something about Suppy, I guess. Suppy knew the magic stuff. Thank you, Maynard, for the 39 months. Aw, thank you. As I cough and make that disingenuous. Rob, I'm joking around with Caleb, saying that I guess Roddy was saying that Caleb wanted revenge on him. And I think I did say that I thought Caleb had lost to Rob in a qualifier previously. And if that is correct, I mean, just like kudos to myself, because I actually forgot that I said that and had to remember that. So not only did I remember it in the first place, I had to remember it again. We do see a kind of typical Archon drop coming through here, but Caleb with the fast Overlord Scout will have full knowledge that it's an Archon drop, and it is the DT version. Now riding on that Roach Warren. So I'm going to lay the land while I look up if that was in fact what happened. Those WCS Spring Qualifiers, was Caleb knocked out by Rob? It wasn't the second one if it was. No, it wasn't. Okay. I actually don't see CalebAracous that far into these last couple of qualifiers. Well, last season's qualifier, to be clear. I wonder what the revenge is for then. We had a proxy pylon set up to the north. I'm not sure this is really going to be used for anything, but Rob could do something interesting like warp in the Archons, but then try and also warp in with the next round of warp-ins, you know, 2 or even, 4 DTs again to the top side. It'd be very expensive, though. I mean, it's not just the limited number of gateways that limits you to 4 warp-ins. It's also the money, as you can see there. So he'd have to wait a little while to really do that. But I guess the point is you would have that other option of attack where the Zerg player is almost always like eyes entirely on the Warp Prism. Spore Crawler is instantly taken out, but the Overseer was made in the prime location, so Rob saw that, he couldn't do much else. Dangerously close to the Queens there, buddy. There we go. And now behind us, taking his 3rd Nexus, so maybe that pylon is just, something that why not throw out there. You're not working with too many pylons in the early game, but you can see he has a couple extra. They're not powering anything important. I really want them to be used for something, though, just because we don't see it too often, but apparently not. DTs once again coming in as DTs, not Archons. So one of the big problems with that, as we saw literally right there, is that while DTs, they pack a punch. They seriously will take out single units very quickly. They don't have Splash, but that's not even it. It's more... This is the second Warp Prism, by the way. 2 Warp Prisms and a Pylon. Okay. It's at their melee. So when the Warp Prism already can technically be hit by the Queens as it picks up Archons, which have some range, now they have to pick up DTs. That's it's really dangerously close to the queen, so you see that's why it's so injured. But now we have quadruple Archon drop. I mean... That's gonna pack a punch. Not as much as ATTs, I guess, jumping on top of these queens, but look at this. Now with a bit of splash, with a chunkiness to it. We do have these roaches struggling to help out, but I do believe with reinforcements it will be enough. But the juggle of the Archons to make sure that those weak ones end up surviving means that these are just traits. So more power to the Archon user, as long as their macro is working, you know, back at home. We do have a bit of a lull in the probes, but yeah, I think actually, yeah. It ends up being perfectly saturated. He's already oversaturated, and he had yet to take his gases here, so that's why there is a lull. It almost looks like he's not hotkeyed his third Nexus, but I'm going to assume that's actually not the case. Okay. Anyways, seeing a good number of roaches, there's always that fear that it could be something to go and attack into your third. A lot of Zergs are doing that. They have to build the Roach Ravager to defend XYZ. They had the Roach Ravager do the attack. And plainly put, some Roach Ravager attacks can just be straight up nasty, no matter what they are defending or not against. But it's not a Roach Ravager attack. These shield batteries aren't truly necessary, especially this fast. But, you know, it's helpful. It's going to be helpful at a later time. Gas is now being taken. It is a +1 missile on the way, and as well as a Spire that is literally just finished. So there we go. No scout on that. Mutas could pop. Force the recall. Maybe take down the weak War Prism if it's over dead air, dead space, right? Ooh. Hey, that DT. Wait, was that came from the pylon? Pylon praise. But didn't actually work out that well. I mean, he got a queen, but this one lived and lost 2 Archons and a DT. That wasn't worth it. Damn. Finally, 8 mutas. But whether, you know, he didn't take out the War Prism. Either one. He did take out the Archons, so I guess kind of mission accomplished there. He pushes this back. Mutas or no. And now the mutas don't have to reveal themselves to the War Prism at all. They can just go really straight across the map, and Rob does not have any Muta defense. No shield batteries, no cannons in his mineral lines. This one a little bit protected, but that push timing that we see so often right before those Mutas are quite ready to go is coming here. And while the Mutas are already out, the push is still very scary. Rob now making his Banelings is nowhere near having Baneling speed. I'm not sure he's going to be able to defend this 4th base. He does have a good number of Lings, with so many Zealots still ready to chop them up with that +1 attack. He really needs those Banelings on the front line. Base does get sniped, and Rob decides to retreat. These Mutas have shown themselves the past couple of seconds, killing a lot of those probes, and now we have drones going down to the Zealots being warped in the main base. He had 2 War Prisms still alive, so those Archons be damned. He still used 1 for reinforcement and micro, and 1 for the harassment. Or did he? Wait, there's actually no War Prism with this? Oh, I guess he recalled that to deal with the mutas. Okay, so I think that was part of the army, but point is, a lot of damage has been done to both sides of the economy. Caleb kind of got a little bit behind on that, but almost connecting on top of those Immortals with some of those Banelings, but just stopped short of it. I guess it was literally a couple of Banelings, so it wasn't being that dramatic, but those force fields felt a little bit last second. They do save a very expensive, slow-building part of the Protoss army, and he has mitigated at least the Muta damage to actually a very acceptable number. They did get a couple extra probes to put Rob at a disadvantage, but with the way that the game, the pacing of this matchup goes, right, I would still feel like Rob ends up ultimately in an okay position. Now, he has to be careful, right? There's always a chance that Caleb goes back into, like, mass mutas, but with 4 or 5 Archons, a good number of Stalkers, it would be a base race, and that'd be a very fast base race, one where the muta count's not really that high, so that'd be a very, very risky move from Caleb to do. So Rob, not going to worry about that, just going to worry about the follow-up push. He kept those Immortals alive, he kept a lot of the Archons alive. They were defending back at home, and has now supplemented with Stalkers and Zealots. Muta's going to come in once again to the natural. More probes will go down, but the army, I think, is just too good. Let's talk about the pacing. Caleb's supposed to have that superior economy to get the superior numbers. Being an even army supply with what he has is not actually that good. A couple Corrosive Biles are hitting more than I anticipated. But one War Prism was sniped, the second one is obviously still reinforcing. A couple War Crucibles hitting when I really didn't think they would. That's like the start of something here. But where's the rest of it? Where's the Ling Flood? Where's more Roaches? They're going to be cornered in here. War Prism going to be used to micro and reinforce. The Crucible's not quite getting on top of it. They're looking for it, but I don't believe that was enough, and then actually one almost missed. So many workers have gone down for both sides, by the way. Caleb, though, now in the lead by 16. If he could hold, there's a chance. His natural, however, goes down. He does, I mean, he still has 3 bases beyond that. Drones are being pulled into the Immortals, who don't have their shields anymore, so it might just be a one tiny little punch, but at least it's something. War Prism goes down, so no more micro on the Immortals, but Caleb doesn't have much of an army anymore. 6 more Roaches on the way, plus 2 melee, not gonna help with that. And Rob's army has pushed through. Oh, that was real close at the end there. Real close. These 4 meters. Nah, it would help. Cool. Cool little game there. Whew. So much closer at the end than I thought it would be. I believe I missed a sub here. Oh no, I didn't. I got everything. Ah! Nailed it. I think the plan for today, guys, is to cast, you know, 1 or 2, probably just 1 of the finals of the winners bracket. I don't know how much I want to stick through the lower bracket as late as that can get. Quickly dipping in a Neuro stream to see how that match is going. Thunderbird's going to be map number 2. Caleb put up a hell of a fight, despite his inferior army, which, you know, happens with this matchup. Supposed to either tech up at some point or hopefully get just the extreme number of units. But making an even army supply of entirely lair-based, you know, lower lair-based too. Not Hydras, which sometimes can be okay. Now, Roach Ravager Muta. Making that look good on even army supply to what Rob was throwing at him. You gotta be impressed with that, even though it was a little bit of Rob just kind of bullying his way forward. And letting Corrosive Biles hit some important units. So no revenge to be had by Caleb quite yet. Now we're on Thunderbird, the most chosen of the new maps. We seem to really like it. We've seen the minerals mined out in the middle. We've seen some people take sneaky bases because the other person doesn't think they're mining out these minerals. Plus, we do have still about like half of the players we watch taking like this base instead of trying to go through the mineral patches. So that's funny, like it's right there, but somehow it's hidden in a couple of these games. Probe Scout sees everything is normal, so Nexus gets slapped down. These guys do seem to be friends. The winner of this will be facing the winner of Elated versus Drunken Boy. Drunken Boy, one of the oldest names I can really think of. A Terran player who has had his moments, was pretty quickly outpaced, overshadowed by Masa, though. He's also a Canadian. think I don't actually know. I have no idea if he's Korean or not. I know he's Asian, but that's about what it doesn't give you. So that's a similarity there with Masa. He's Canadian, Asian, and Terran. But because I think he is, you know, it's been a while. It's been a while. Someone's gonna come in here and be like racist, and I'm gonna be like, I'm sorry. Anyways, more importantly, this game here right now. We'll see if Jungle Boy even gets past his opponent. A guy named Elated, and as I say it, there it goes. Okay, yeah. 2-0'd Elated and is waiting for the winner of this match. I'll probably continue on to that, to be honest. And I would see Rob making it through over Caleb, but that last match was close. And Rob, I think, can have off days for certain. And I'm really not 100% sure that, you know, it's just one of those, yeah, Rob wins this. I'm not that closely entwined with the NA scene, but Rob has gotten a little bit more on the success on the big stage. Adept coming in here, a little bit of scout, a little bit of a poke, very safe. Shade back into the third. With speed not even on the way, actually. Much less, you know, about to finish. He had no worry of losing that adept. Now, he doesn't actually know that. I mean, he saw 100 gas mined, or, well, I didn't actually see any mining. But he would have, and that usually goes into speed, so right about now. That's when speed would pop, or maybe a little bit later. But continued scouting, see still no speedling. It's got to be a little suspicious. Might be figuring the Overlord speed is on the way just like last game, but he doesn't care because his tech it's not an option for this Overlord to scout. Now, the Overlord scouts nothing until this Robo, but that nothing is right as the Oracle swoops in. Of course, in proxy means that the safety Spore Crawler timing doesn't quite work out, even though Caleb did go for it. Now, 4 drones go down. The Oracle wouldn't quite be worth it if it died, but it doesn't die. Very nice there for Rob. He doesn't have to use the Stargate anymore if he doesn't want to. Oracle's alive for the Revelation, for any bits of harassment it can find, although it probably won't. And he's on his way to a Robo and a Twilight Council, but he isn't just getting an extra 2 gateways. He is getting not an extra 3 gateways. I guess he's only on 1. He is getting an extra 4, getting into that charge immediately. So we might see a Templar Archives added for Archons. We are definitely, there it is, definitely going to see an attack with charge lots. And the 2 options that you can have. Now, the Overlord having speed should be able to see the difference here. When you see that Chrono Boost on the Twilight Council this fast, and then the Chrono Boost on the Robo, Templar Archive time, it could also be scouted. And gateways could also be scouted. I mean, literally, the entire intel is here. You should have that in your brain, that not just are there going to be their charge lots, it could even be a really committed attack. They're going to be potentially coming in from 2 different directions. So that sometimes is the real killer, is not 2 Archons plus 5 or 6 Zealots, it's 2 Archons, 1 place, 6 Zealots, other place. Adepts come in to get some extra drone kills, looking for the 4th one, not going to find it, is going to lose its life, still seeing no speed. It's kind of an anti-timing there, but if they're going to make Ling still, they're going to get speed. There's the Archons being morphed in. The last gateway is finishing up. He didn't just go up to 4 gateways, he went up to 5, and then a 6th being added on. He didn't pull out of gases, though, either, so, I mean, it's not super heavily committed, but there's the 3rd Nexus, now seen by Caleb's Overlords that I was kind of waiting for, as you saw the numbers get pretty high. But now they're going to be used for those charge lots. He is just choosing to go directly ahead with the Archons here. And this can pack a punch. The Zealots get rock one on the Roaches. The Archons get the splash. Maybe some magic can really work, but I think Caleb has enough here to successfully push this back, and Rob will just run back home. More power to him for doing so. This is a little bit awkward. I'm not sure he meant to pick up that Zealot. Yeah, I really don't think he meant to pick up that Zealot. At least 1 Archon lives now because of that. Warp Prism got a little ahead of itself. Maybe reacting to the Lings as they opened up the Warp Prism and warped in, so a bit of a awkward focus problem. But anyways, 3rd Nexus is saved. Warp Prism dies. Archon lives. Immortals now being cranked out, and we're about to have 2 Robos cranking out Immortals. But it's not quite ready to go, and we don't have... Oof, we have a Warp Prism... It's necessary, actually. I'd say a Warp Prism, in a lot of cases, is better than another Immortal, but It's one of those things where you're not supposed to have to make that choice. The Warp Prism is supposed to be either back home or have the option to be recalled. But that Nidus Swarm on the way, this is why I'm building up that decision. There is an attack on the way, one that Rob will not really see. He does see the Nidus Swarm though, so my bad. Okay, that actually, I would have expected that to be out of vision, but it definitely isn't. Grabs the Overlord first to make sure not to have to deal with that anymore, but we're talking about Overlord speed. So, you know, inevitably more Overlords will come across the map, but the Phoenix that he built before that Stargate died is also taking care of another Overlord. This Nidus Swarm attack is not working out, and Caleb's not really in a position to now go across the map. If he goes across the map on Thunderbird without the middle taken out, that's going to take far too long. Rob has successfully shut down this tactic just by finding the Nidus Swarms, and even if the Nidus Swarms had popped, his army was looking quite good against what Caleb was throwing at him. And it's going to get even better. So Caleb's forced to readjust. He's unfortunately so far down in that drone counts. He does not have any upgrades. I'm not sure exactly what would be the best course of action. The one thing he has going for him is that, same as his Roach attack going across the map wouldn't be the fastest. Neither would Rob's attack going across to him, but that's like a very, very cheap silver lining on that cloud. It's not really silver, it's the stuff that like turns, it gets rusted easily and affects your ear, you know what I mean? Like, it's not great. But that's the one thing. And Rob should be planning an attack. He just successfully shut down Nidus Worms. He shut down the vision on the Nidus Worms. Now we're talking about just purely advanced reinforcement Nidus Worms, not surprise, like, haha, got your economy. So that plus it is that, hey, it's that composition. I got Immortals, Archons, and Charge Lots, and a Warp Prism. I should move. All things pointing to the move out. Caleb sees this about as soon as possible, trying to get whatever creeps he can down to make these banelings effective, and that is the one thing that can change up some of these severe army supply differences. Roach Ravager, mostly numbers, especially when you consider the Protoss to be good at micro. Crucibles can maybe change that up, but banelings can change up even more. But fast banelings is usually what changes it up, and we're talking still about slow ones. Rob, a little bit of a split here. Doesn't really work out the best. His Zealots are still colliding in with the banelings for the most part, but the banelings have now been expended. There's still a lot of units left over, including a decent amount of charge lots, and here come more for that Warp Prism. Crucibles are hitting, oh, again on these Immortals. They just popped a ton of shields. Rob actually not having the best attack. Not only did those banelings take up the Zealots, the Crucibles hit the Immortals, but he also is going up into a concave. Caleb with that last second defense pulling things together, but Rob, again, I guess last game, we kind of saw the hints of that. He got a little too overzealous. He went into those corrosive vials head first, and doing it again here in a less, obviously, like, overpowering position. I thought his chances were good to do something, but it wasn't like he could be A-moving, and that's kind of what he did there, a little bit. And he was rightfully punished for it, so really dipping down that supply. Also not waiting for his +2, which I wasn't too worried about, but, you know, again, that was just a very brute force attack. Really no finesse with any force fields, and it did not work. Rob is forced to play the defensive game now. Caleb, that's exactly what he was looking for. What? Okay, I didn't actually know that was going to be an opening. It's not a big one, though, so that, you know, it's still one unit at a time, but I could not even tell that was mined out. Okay, so the plan is to take this base, and if he's going to continue to take this base, he should probably mine out more of these minerals. These Warp Prism kind of keeping tabs on the army, trying to make sure it doesn't come across the map. Can't do much about the Warp Prism or the Nidus Swarm. It's found pretty quickly. The army is back up to a very anti-Roach Ravager type of army. So it is going to be able to deal with what most pops out of there, but it's no longer the Roach Ravager army, is it? It's the 8-11 Swarm hosts that are popping out. So they're not looking for a, aha, gotcha. They're looking for ways to pop out their Locust safely and retreat. So another Nidus Swarm comes up. Rob would do... He wants to play whack-a-mole. He wants to get rid of these Nidus Worms. And anytime he moves too forward off to the left, there's a possibility that some come over to the right, or some Roaches and Ravagers come over to the right, or that he simply can't hop back over to defend his Nexus, which is exactly the case. Oof. Maybe if he had microed over some Archons with a Warp Prism, but if you're going to focus fire on top of a Nexus, chances are you're going to get it with Locusts. Locusts have stupidly high DPS. But Rob is back up to that army. That looks so damn scary, even closer to max out this time with that +2, and he should have Storm and +3 if he's chronoing it. He's taking out the Nidus Worms once again, has a Zealot, or an Archon actually, looking for the other common Nidus Worm location, and he is ready to tango. Caleb is still stuck on that just inferior tech, even with the Locust helping his defense. The Archons had a couple of good hits on them first, or they're stormed down, and they don't help at all. Again, just not talking about that next step of tech. Obviously, Broodlords being usually the ultimate goal, but even Lurkers, even Hydras, not here. So Caleb's gonna have to hope a little bit for those Corrosive Biles once again, and also hope that his Locusts actually do get quite a good number of shots off before they die to the Splash, which might just be possible. But oh, speaking of Splash, big hit there on the Roach Ravager on the bottom side. Locusts are mostly taken away. They don't do a fuck of a ton. But the wall of Roach Ravager with Transfuses does hold against the charge lots. Rob, he's going to need them to warp in quite soon, but he's going to have it. Immortals are still alive, although many of them are weak and have their shields popped. A couple Storms still left over. One last one, and then turn them into Archons. Don't take out the last bits of the Ravagers, but take out so damn many. Swarmhost looking quite useless right now. They should be having their Locusts soon. So soon, but the third base has died. Can this actually push through? If he can get on top of the Swarm Host, that's it. It's game over. No chance here. But the Locusts, here they come now. A lot of these Immortals do not have their shields. Another really good Heart of the Army Storm. But that is the last one. And they weren't on top of the Locusts. So there's all the pop shields and the remaining Immortals who had them. Oh gosh, the Micro's going to come in here to save all of them, isn't it? Oh no. No, there was actually like twice as many roaches right there when those Immortals looked like they were about to die, but then the Micro came in and Caleb was just not quite able to take out all of those. Another Warp Prism has gone into the main base. It actually is not going to work out. I guess that's where a lot of reinforcements also went to, is defending that. Third hatch went down, Nidus goes down, Rob survives with a good number of Immortals for a follow-up attack, but this is the good news. The Swarm Hosts weren't pounced upon. The Roach Ravager did its job. It weathered a heck of a lot of storms and buffered against the charge lots, and the Locusts survive, which mean there's a chance here. If you're not replacing the army, then your temporary lack of economy might not matter as much. Especially because Rob wasn't exactly super quick to his own fourth. He was actually quite dedicated to that attack. Fourth base only coming down as he started to lose it. So Caleb still has a shot, definitely. But he's got to get a little bit more of the offense. He's got to actually get something over there to trip Rob up, or Rob's just going to remake the exact same army and push into him with maybe even a better angle and more storms and dodging Corrosive Biles and all that good stuff. So every time Caleb has defended, I always felt like it was just like, okay, but like your army's still not that great, and it really isn't supposed to be. But he has defended. Rob's on top of these Nidus Worms. They're not doing anything. Caleb's gonna have to like build one over here and over here to actually make them work. And now with the attack once again coming in, a little bit of harassment set up as well. If the Swarm Hosts use their Locusts to kill a fourth base, they won't be there to defend, and that is a lot of Caleb's army supply. He went up to 13 Swarm Hosts again. The harassment comes in a little bit premature, so it is easily taken care of, even losing an Immortal right there. Warp Prism also has been, low for a little while, so the Queen's gonna get on top of that. The Swarm Hosts come in, and actually Rob, who was about to jump on this army that was getting a little out of position, instead thinks about returning home, decides not to, just pulls the probes, lets the base die, but has perhaps missed the opportunity to catch Caleb with his pants down. Now the army is there, actually microing against this. The Corrosive Biles, really the champions of these past two games, both games. But last game still ended in Rob's victory, and it looks like this game is going to be no different, although once again being awfully close. A lot of Immortals going down to the hail of Corrosive Biles. But every time that Caleb can get Corrosive Bile around and retreat away from the Immortals means that he still has a shot. Unfortunately, now he's getting tucked into his own base defenses. No more room to maneuver. He's going to go for the last couple shots, and the Warp Prism doesn't quite get it. And all the queens are dead. Nothing to take it down, but the locusts come in here with the surround from the rest of the units, including the reinforcing ones from the natural hatchery. Means that Rob is forced to disengage again. Oh my good lord. God, this guy, like, Caleb does not die. He will not die. And Rob, I mean, he had +3 for that attack. He was getting into a position where Caleb was, he should have losing his Ravagers. That's the most expensive thing that he has, right? So it's always supposed to be a lot more impactful when the Ravagers go down, but he has had to replace them now twice in pretty extensive numbers. He's been able to. Like the skin of his teeth, but like it's worked. Back to the 4 bases, kind of. Well, actually, he lost this one, didn't he? Yeah. He's back up to 1 base mining. And he still has those swarm hosts, which they do not take more money to rebuild. I know there's been a little bit of like counter culture, counter movement, not to call them free units, because locust waves are a type of resource, but I'm actually like on the counter of that counter movement. They're literally still free units. They do not cost money to replace. They just cost resources in terms of like your decision to use them or not. And in this case, they've been used appropriately. Either they've been taking shots from whatever they're up against, or they've, in that last battle especially, actually been jumping on top of a lot of these very strong units and DPSing them down. So if those were Hydras, they're stormed, they're dead. If those are more Ravagers, well, maybe that would have been better. Rob's actually been running in the corrosive biles, but you know, it's not. Forget that. Like they would be dead, and they would be so much more expensive to replace than if they're just literally alive and still expelling those locusts. Which they're still trying to get some damage done. I mean, that one Nidus Worm that got the 4th base was worth it. I mean, we've had like 6, 7, 8 Nidus Worms, most of which have not done anything, but that one was worth it. Yeah, by the way, he like actually built another Nidus. No, the first one was snipes, but he's not done with them yet. Another Nidus Worm, this time on top of the high ground. Still in range of the Locust, though. I actually really like that position. Another attack from Rob, though. Now the Locusts have to once again make a tough decision. Go for the 4th base or come home to defend. They have chosen to come home to defend. Trying to dodge out of the way of those storms, but every time also dodging away from the charge outs, away from the actual attacks of the Protoss army, yet getting his corrosive biles down to buy time. There's a lot of micro to be done here. Even hits a couple of those high templars, actually reaching towards high templars, it looked like, with those locusts, but actually he's just trying to get to the back of the army to keep it surrounded so the corrosive biles would be extra effective. I do like that micro, even though Rob tried his best to counter micro against that. By the way, Rob has finished up a +1 armor, which should help a lot against these type of engagements, and is about to have +2. His upgrades have always been better, but his actual attack has not been. Caleb is using these resources so damn well, the Locusts, the Corrosive Biles, and he has gone for the best composition possible in the situation he's been put in. But he does lose, straight up, he's lost that hatchery that was not a cancel. And this time he does not have the reassurance that he's killed Rob's 4th base. Rob does still have the potential to remake the army, even as he gets pounced upon here, even as he once again is forced to retreat. These guys seriously in a slugfest. I feel like if Rob maybe had, you know, zealots coming from the back or plentiful force fields, even to just force the corrosive biles to hit them for a second, even for the zealots to get any amount of swipes off, because obviously corrosive biles take care of the force fields. That's exactly what they're used for, but it's one of those things where I feel like that split second that they do take to break them maybe could have added to this, you know, especially when Rob was maxed out and had some flexibility to what he could add into his army. This game. Caleb is starting to really run dry on resources, though. He's had to replenish a lot of Ravagers over the course of this game, and he has lost a base with every single attack, so it's never been quite consistent 2-base mining. And I'm saying 2-base on purpose, because it's been this base and this base for the last, like, 10 minutes. Thank you, Koala. What a cute spelling of that word, for that Twitch Prime sub. Nidus Worm, oh, this has been up for a while. It's one of the longest lasting Nidus Worms, but actually didn't do anything. I like that. I think a lot of these times he just has straight up not had an observer with his army, right? So there's been some missed opportunities for creep spread. But then Caleb did have a large number of queens in the earlier game. He is now down to 1 queen. This is not only a problem for potential injects, but it's also a problem for dealing with War Prism harassment. 2 queens would take this down pretty much like instantly, but 1? That's when the Warpin actually completes, albeit very barely. Zealots cleaned up, but these Zealots are trying not to just clean up drones or technology. They are trying to get this army to be out of position, but Caleb is focusing. It really has been, someone in chat mentioned this, a perfect description, like Rob's macro versus Caleb's micro and composition. And Caleb is still trying to use that to the best of his ability. I believe he only popped a couple of those swarm hosts. Yeah, exactly. So more locusts are coming in, but now he's bathing in the storms. His 4th base is once again taken out, and these locusts are wasting so much time in the air. They do finally land on top of the army with life to spare. So Rob correctly respects that and starts to disengage. Another storm would be absolutely amazing. He had clean up the locusts, to clean up all of these ravagers, but as soon as locusts die, just because of their timer, these weak ravagers, 1 shot from these immortals from death go down. Rob has not expanded again. He's super oversaturated on his base. His 3 bases entirely mined out. Caleb only not fully mined out because of how often he's had to replace these and send his drones this way and that. Neither one of them quite able to afford another base. Rob just now getting to 400 minerals, and it looks like he is planning on taking another base. But Caleb gonna really struggle, especially if he continues to throw down these Nidus Worms, which usually super cheap. Don't really care. That's why he's thrown down 1 billion of them. But now every bit counts. I'm actually going to take a look at the losses here. God, 15 Nidus Worms. 2 actual Nidus, you know, openings, we'll say. Oh, geez, this count. Oh, 40. And 49 Ravagers. I've been talking about that number having to be replaced, and that is a huge contributor to this game, but the only three Swarm hosts dying is the other contributor, and one of the reasons that Caleb is still alive. If he had saved, you know, half of those Ravagers from death, this is such a different game. In fact, I think it's a game that he might have already won. If he had consistently had 20 more Ravagers, that's a very big difference. Actually, a direct look at the resources lost, by the way. I'm not sure what it's been like in the entire game, but quite close coming towards the last couple of minutes. Caleb, now an even army supply, but still utilizing the corrosive bios to the best of his ability. Observer actually goes down on one of them. I hear the locust, so should Rob. He's going to try and disengage, but around that 4th base. So he's forced to cancel storms, blanketing the army, getting a couple of kills, and severely damaging the rest of the units. Charge lots are going to get 1 single swipe and kill so many damn units, but he's got to be careful. He's been microed again so well in this game that he's really trying to be a little more conservative with those zealots. He's also dragging the army back into the storms, and that is finally going to be it. Good God. Rob takes the 2-0, but whoa, did he have to fight for it?